Brandon Aiyuk's Instagram featured some video of a gold and purple Louis Vuitton short wearing Trey Lance throwing a deep ball.
What do you think those shorts cost you?
I don't know, $15. Somebody selling them out of the trunk of their Dodge Plymouth.
You know what the kids say, you can't hide money.
Only 3 throws from the day. His arm got fatigued after that. That was Brandon Aiyuk's comment on his own post. Kyle Juszczyk, caption on point, laughy emoji. George Kittle, laughy emoji, clappy hands.
My problem with the clappy hands emoji is it's like golf clap. People clap like this.
You ever see somebody that claps funny? It's very funny to watch. So these guys are having some fun, John. Them against the world. Good place to be. Good place to be, you against the world, when you're a team with expectations. Not every team that has high expectations gets to play the, foxhole. But the Niners, it feels like, are starting to kind of do that little thing. It's not terrible.
Well, I think it's pretty unique because when you look at the division, everyone thinks Seattle's going to suck. They're going to. Arizona's just weird. What is ultimately the Rams, almost like the Clippers, the Rams chip on their shoulder? Every single guy on the team got paid. Every single guy got paid. I mean, Stafford got an extension. Donald got cash. Jalen is just screaming about how he's a Hall of Famer already on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that. He's like tweeting his resume. It's like, Jalen, we get it, bro. He's just kind of always mad. They just McVay married, Super Bowl cake. He's been, if you follow his wife, they've been all over the country, or not the country, out of the country, world traveling. Life's good. I mean, McVay's turned down $100 million offers. Like, yeah, I'll just keep coaching. So just riding high. The Niners, who were right there leading that game, everyone thinks their quarterback's going to suck, or just like a major question mark. Like that's not a take. Like people think like no one is being like Trey Lance is going to be a stud. No one's saying that. And in fairness,
I would say I don't tell me if you agree with, maybe this is even the simpler way to put it, is like their quarterback is a hot topic, is being analyzed and nitpicked nonstop.
For sure. They have had, and rightfully so. It's not like he doesn't deserve it, but when you do that, and then if he turns out to be good, they're going to throw that back in everyone's face. They had one of the number one stories over the offseason, right, in the Deebo Samuel situation, which is not resolved, but it kind of is because he can't go anywhere. And he can't hold out once camp starts because you can't give back the fines. No one really does that anymore. So it's like he's probably going to show up even if he's just standing there if he hasn't been signed. The conversation, the entire camp is going to be Trey Lance, how's he looking? How's he looking? How's he looking? How's he looking? I will say this, and you and I have talked about this before. If you follow these guys on social media, like him and Aiyuk feel like they got a really good relationship. Like they're like legitimately friends, kind of like how Deebo and Trent became that, like how George and Juszczyk like feel like they're kind of like that. Armstead and Buckner felt like they were like that for a while. Like they just, for whatever reason, it makes sense. I mean, they're probably similar ages, come in at similar times. Spence just, you're just whatever. It just feels like they got a little bond. Now, River Craycraft was also there. I don't know if you saw that. He was at the the throwing thing too. Not ideal. I told you this yesterday. Like if you had told me Deebo had signed in the spring, I don't know if he's even at that thing. Like that is the one thing where you just, is he going to be a big part of the crew? Which doesn't really matter if he's part of the crew once the season starts, but it doesn't quite feel like he's going to be a huge part of like off-season workouts with this guy. He's even said, right? They asked me to throw, and he's like, well, you going to come to Florida? So I ain't coming to San Jose or whatever. I ain't coming to Texas.
Yeah. The other part of it, like you mentioned Aiyuk, and this is where Deebo would help, but it's where Kittle and Juszczyk and all these guys do help. Young guys, you don't get the leeway. We don't give you the leeway to defend yourself if you're young, if you haven't proven anything, right? If you haven't proven anything, then you don't get to be a leader until you prove you should be a leader. Albert Breer said it on Russillo's podcast that we were talking about yesterday about Baker. One of Baker's problems was he talked to players on the Browns the same way he talked to guys at Oklahoma. But on the Browns, he had no pelts on the wall. At Oklahoma, he was the guy worth following because he led them to glory. In Cleveland, you can't yell at the center. This was Breer's line about screwing a play up if you screw a play up 2 plays later because you're not locked in and you don't know the playbook well enough. And I think when you have a veteran team like the Niners have some vets, and I would say Aiyuk, while he's not an old guy, but he has transitioned from young guy to kind of one of the older players of the receiving group, or at least of their star group. He's clearly he's a vet in that sense. Those guys can speak for a young player. So when Aiyuk speaks for a young player by doing what he did, when Juszczyk supports a young player by doing what he did, when Kittle supports Trey by doing what he did, there is a galvanizing kind of sense there where the young guy wouldn't be allowed to. It would almost feel like he was overly sensitive. If Trey started defending himself against just all of the chatter, it would feel kind of weird. Ideally, you have older guys, established guys who have a place in the league already that can do it for the young guy. He gets to stay away from all of the actual heat, and the other guys get to help kind of dissipate any other pressure. And they take the pressure off him by basically saying, we're going to be the ones that make statements, so the eyes are going to be on us. And I think he's in a Trey, whatever he's going to become. And Darnold, his situation was effed from the start. Even Baker, who was in a good spot with Stefanski, he's had a bunch of different coaches. Trey's in a pretty damn good spot for a player in his position. Fields is in a tough spot. Zach Wilson's in a tough spot. Trey's in a really good spot.
He is. I hadn't even thought about that. One of my favorite characteristic of him right now, given that I don't know how he's going to be as a full-time starter, is there have been ample opportunities for him to kind of do what most people would do through social media. Like they say, my arm can't throw. He hasn't. I haven't seen any of it. He's been pretty good about, and it's impossible because they're all talking about it and seeing it, and it would be very, very easy for him. And I wouldn't blame. Up until like 2 years ago, I argued way too often on Twitter with people, and it was a completely pointless exercise for about 8 years. It just you go nowhere. I would say the same thing about athletes clapping back. Like it doesn't ever accomplish anything, but I understand it. Your emotions are high, people are saying it, and he never does yet. Now you would say this once he becomes a player, if things don't go well, it would get amplified 100-fold, right? Because you could be like, what are we even talking about? There might be something tangible behind it if you play bad. Honestly, it was an elite Jimmy characteristic. Part of that, he's just not an active social media guy. If anyone had room to talk a little shit over the years, this guy's started in 2 NFC championships in 3 years. People acted like he was one of the shittiest starters in the league consistently. Never said a peep, which would be hard. I respect that because I don't know if I was in his shoes at his age. I don't think I would be able to hold myself back.
Maybe not, but he grew up in a different environment in New England.
For sure, but I'm just saying, like, Tom's gotten a little louder since he left.
Well, yes, but like you said, it's pretty clear that it's a lose-lose situation. It just takes a lot of restraint. And that's where it helps to have people support you. They can take some of the heat for you. They can take some of the heat off of you.
Well, it's easier to be supported too, right? When the people supporting you aren't just like, well, what's this guy saying? Who's this? When it's like the star players who are legit.
Here's the other thing. Back to your original point about this group being able to have something to rally around, a chip on your shoulder, whatever you want to call it. A lot of chips on shoulders are imagined and made up, right? Like the Niners, by and large, I think, I could be wrong. Tell me if you think I'll be wrong about this. If we went and looked at preseason predictions, pick 10 of them, whatever, a month before the season starts, I bet most of them put them in the playoffs, right? But all it takes is one. All it takes is seeing one person not pick you for the all-league team, or one prediction to say Adam Rank says you're going to go 3-13, and then it's all about Adam Rank. It's not even about the prediction. It's not really about the person. You're just looking for motivation. And
like Monday Night Football when the whole crew picks and it's all the one team and the other team wins, and then the social media posts it. Then all the players, it's like, you guys were in the locker room. You weren't watching Monday Night Countdown. Like you didn't see any of this shit. Like,
we heard about it. Somebody texted me.
You were getting your pregame talk by your coach.
It's so much harder when everybody thinks you're going to succeed. So you got to find somebody who doubts you. Do you think Nick Saban likes playing games when his team is favored by 40?
Well, no, it's when he gets mad. That's when he freaks out because they always ask him about the next team, and
it's hard. It's hard. So,
don't you think the Rams fall in? How many teams?
Absolutely.
Is there going to be anyone that doesn't pick the Rams to make the playoffs this year?
No.
No chance. Is there going to be anyone that doesn't pick the Rams to not be really, really good and be like a Super Bowl favorite? You do, like, to me, they're a team to keep an eye on of like their urgency, what they have to prove, because their star players have not changed. Their coach hasn't changed. He's a young coach too. He's not an asshole, right? It's, to me, it's easier with the Sabans and the Parcells, like, or the Belichicks, like they're just kind of miserable, Not that McVay won't be driven. He's not. It's not like he's mailing it in, but I think it helps when I need to put a fire under you to be an asshole. Then, like Kyle's position, you almost got to temper it a little bit. Like, guys, we got to stay focused. For McVay, like, how do you? Not most guys aren't Aaron Donald, right?
Well, you know what you need? Who just got paid? That's one thing the Patriots benefited from was
Coach being a
Deflategate.
dick. Oh yeah.
What was Spygate? Like they got to play us, even as the favorite. They got to play us against the world a lot, right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone always talks shit about Belichick.
Orchids of Asia Gate.
She owned it.
You're a cheater. You're a cheater. Like it's just like here's what I'm talking about. Paul on the stream. I don't know, man. Somebody had the Niners as the 19th best roster in the league. LOL. That's what I'm talking. Like that's all you need. I don't know who. All it takes is one person. That's all you need.
Well, PFF put out their top 10 college quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and they had C.J. Stroud fourth and Spencer Rattler ahead of him.
Oh wow.
But it's like you could go, that could really motivate you, and then you could. There are certain things to be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, are we serious? Like, we're gonna get mad over this. The 19th best roster. Like, did Adam Schefter say that, or did like some blogger for the Jags, Jacksonville Tacombe say that? I don't know. There's a different. Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter as long as you can find the motivation. And for the Niners,
no one alive would say they have the 19th best roster. Who knows what they're talking about? It's impossible.
It doesn't, but somebody alive said it.
Yeah,
apparently,
it's not. I don't even take it seriously.